distinguished committee for according us the opportunity to interact with Parliament on a matter that is core in our operations as a national political party, the Forum for Democratic Change. The presentation that I am going to make, and I would like to seek your indulgence, members, to allow me to read the 7-page presentation, is being done on behalf of the Forum for Democratic Change leadership and also the membership of that party. And this is done in recognition of the President Honorable Richard LUMU Kizito. And as we understand it, the object of the bill is to amend the Administration of Parliament Act, CAP 272, to, among others, provide for the election of the leader of the opposition by members of the opposition in Parliament from among the members of the parties in opposition to government having the greatest numerical strength in Parliament. Secondly, provide additional grounds upon which the leader of the opposition may cease to hold office. C, require the shadow cabinet to be approved by members of the opposition parties in Parliament. D, require the leader of the opposition to consult opposition political parties represented in Parliament when appointing chairpersons and deputy chairpersons of accountability committees of Parliament. The Honorable LUMU, who is a Democratic Party legislator, was granted leave to introduce the bill during the regional sitting in Gulu at the end of August. In his proposal, seconded by NUP's Honorable Bwekte Kamwa Kakembo, the MP of Entebbe Municipality, Honorable LUMU wants to amend Section 8 of the Administration of Parliament Act to allow opposition MPs from various parties to elect the LOP. According to Honorable LUMU, he argues that the current system, which grants the party with the most opposition seats, currently the National Unity Party, NUP, the authority to appoint the LOP, marginalizes MPs from smaller opposition parties. NUP, with 57 MPs, has so far appointed 2 leaders of the opposition in the 11th Parliament. Right Honorable Joel Senyonyi, Nakawa West, replacing the Right Honorable Matthias Mpuga of Nyendo Mukungwe in January 2024. Previously, we in the Forum for Democratic Change had appointed 5 leaders of opposition since the position was created in 2006. And suffices to note that we have experience being both the appointing authority of the leader of the opposition and the chief opposition whip, and also sat by as another political organization does the appointment. In the proposals of the bill, Clause 1 of the bill, Section 1 of the Administration of Parliament Act defines the leader of opposition as a leader of the party in opposition to government with the greatest numerical strength in Parliament. Mr. Chairman and honorable members, it's important to understand the reasons that informed the framers of the Act as amended in 2006. And by the way, I was privileged to be in the House at the time when this amendment was being considered. And I can say without hesitation that I'm conversant with what happened during that time. As we ushered in multi-party political dispensation from the monolithic system of the movement, where they defined the leader of opposition in parliament. And by the way, again, this was to operationalize the provisions in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as amended in 2004, after a referendum was conducted that ushered in multi-party democracy. This definition was benchmarked from the best practices that the leaders of the opposition in the Commonwealth parliamentary system are typically chosen based on their party's strength in the legislature. The party with the most seats, but not in government, usually gets to choose its leader as the leader of the opposition. This leader is often seen as the alternative prime minister or premier, ready to take over if the government in power loses the confidence of the House or the people of the Republic of Uganda. And you know that Commonwealth practice is something that we've adopted. Many things that happen in the House from the time of independence to now, 62 years and going strong, are adopted from the UK House of Commons. Even the green seats that you sit on, the wig that the presiding officers put on, and the regalia that is used in the House. In democracies, of course, the UK House of Commons, from which we draw good parliamentary practice, is a glowing success story of true parliamentary democracy. And therefore our contestation why we really would like to depart from these known norms to something new that makes us extremely suspicious as the FDC. In democracies like the Australian democracy, the leader of the opposition is recognized as the head of the alternative government. They lead a shadow cabinet, also known as the opposition executive or shadow ministry, composed of members elected by their party or nominated by the leader. Each shadow minister covers specific areas of administration and acts as the opposition spokesperson. This is written all over the place. You just have to Google and you access this information. It's available. The leader of the opposition plays a crucial role in scrutinizing the government, suggesting improvements to legislation, examining expenditures, and seeking information on government policy. They are also responsible for articulating the views of various groups within the community. We in the Forum for Democratic Change are deeply concerned about the shrinking political space for opposition parties. And the LUMU bill is a prime example of this. The FDC strongly opposes the amendment proposed by Honorable LUMU, believing it's driven by bad faith and aims to disempower opposition political party institutions. And to the committee, just to add on this, those of you who have been in the playing ground, especially my friends in the opposition that I see across the table, know the level of harassment that we have got to endure while doing our political work, whether it's during an election or during even consultations before an election. Even if you convene a small collection of party faithfuls to do business, the RDC, the DISO, the GISO, the RISO, the PISO, whatever they are called, would be nosing around everywhere to inconvenience you. And therefore, their venue that is, sort of left for our members of parliament to speak about the common man would be parliament. And this itself is under attack, and our members are being disempowered. Where else do you want us to go as the opposition? Where? Bill is seen as another attempt by the government to restrict the opposition's ability to operate effectively. This is part of a broader pattern of reducing political participation, undermining public institutions, and stifling dissenting voices in parliament. And I would like to warn the committee and parliament at this point that the more you reduce the space afforded, even the little space afforded to the opposition, the more you are pushing those in opposition to look for alternatives. And I think this is dangerous, not only for our democracy, but also extremely dangerous for the stability of this nation. Clause 2 of the bill. Clause 2 of the bill, which seeks to amend Section 8 of the Principal Act, is indeed viewed by us as an avalanche of impunity by the proposer and the Honorable LUMU. This proposed legislation seeks to alter the current system of election of leader of the opposition in parliament by the majority opposition political party to parliament, instead making it an elective position by the entire opposition. This diminishes the influence of the official opposition party in parliament. If there are any political issues within the opposition, they should not be resolved through legislation. Instead, they can be resolved administratively. It will also fuel unnecessary divisions among members of the main opposition party due to avoidable quest for top positions in parliament. And I'm extremely, and my team are extremely comfortable, voting for a position where there is no election across, by all the political parties in the opposition in the House, knowing that we ourselves are not the official opposition. I'm sure that our friends in NUP would be extremely uncomfortable about this because they would probably have a conflict of interest. We don't have a conflict of interest. We are saying we are comfortable with this. And who is, LUMU to even begin to speak for us? The FDC. I think he's extremely out of order. It's our considered opinion that the opposition's leadership is determined by election outcome in the general election. The voices of the people spoke in the election. And that is how a political party in the opposition becomes the leading or the official political party in the House. It's not just ordained on them. It is through the election that NUP got 57 members of parliament. Not through any other way. Denying the largest opposition party the right to elect the LOP is undemocratic and undermines the power of the very voters that put trust in them. It can also be used against the opposition by the party in power. On clause 3 of the bill, which seeks to amend section 9 of the Principal Act to provide grounds for impeachment of the leader of the opposition, the LUMU bill has sparked concerns that the ruling NRM party could exploit it to impeach a strong opposition leader, effectively silencing dissenting voices. This fear is rooted in Uganda's history of restrictive politics, where the ruling party has maintained significant control over the political landscape. And my friends in NRM, make no mistake about this, Mr. Chairman. You could be the ruling party today, tomorrow you may be in the opposition. I am telling you this. You could be in the opposition. Don't make a law that has got colors. You should make a law that is color blind. Because, when you look at people like Mbabazi today, struggling, the law he made here, he pushed for it, the Public Order and Management Act, and he was the first victim actually before us, bundled from Jinja and brought to Jinja Road Police, Kira Road Police Station. So I want you, Honorable Selwanyi, Mr. Chairman, to be conscious of the laws you make in this House. If the LUMU bill becomes law,
Mr. President, address the committee.
Mr. Chairman and the committee, I was talking to the NRM, members of this committee. If the LUMU bill becomes law, and I hope it doesn't, it would further entrench the NRM's control by allowing the ruling party to manipulate the opposition's leadership. This could lead to a situation where the leader of opposition is forced to toe the NRM's line, fearing impeachment if she doesn't comply. And I know what goes on in this parliament. When a hot issue comes up on the floor, there are going to be telephone calls, to the leader of the opposition. You risk towing that line, tomorrow the axe will fall on your neck. And trust that the leader of opposition will be a human person. He's been a human person. She's been a human and will always be human. And they will react in fear. Very few will stand up and say, bring your axe and here is my neck. Clause 4 of the bill seeks to amend Section 11 of the Principal Act under the proposal A, B, and C. We in the FDC believe that it's inordinate to require shadow cabinet to be approved by a resolution of members of the opposition parties because of the following grounds. Firstly, lack of unity and coordination. When multiple opposition parties are involved in approving the shadow cabinet, it can lead to disagreements and power struggles, ultimately weakening the opposition's ability to effectively challenge the ruling party. So many cooks actually spoil the soup, as you're aware. Number two, inefficient decision making. The need for consensus among multiple parties can bog down decision making processes, hindering the opposition's capacity to respond promptly to government actions. Number three, diluted accountability. With multiple parties involved, accountability becomes dispersed, making it challenging to hold individuals responsible for their actions and policies. Now, how does an FDC leader of opposition go after a JEMA shadow minister? It makes it very difficult for accountability to be realized. Conflicting interests. Different opposition parties may have varying interests and priorities, potentially leading to conflict policy positions within the shadow cabinet. And lastly, loss of opposition identity. A collective approval process may blur the distinct identity and values of the main opposition party, making it harder for voters to understand their stance. On the other hand, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, Honorable Chairman and members of this committee, having the main opposition party designate the shadow cabinet from our own experience allows for, number one, clear leadership and direction. A single party can provide and direction, enabling more effective opposition. Streamlined decision making. Decisions can be made more swiftly, allowing the opposition to respond promptly to government action. And you know, honorable members and Mr. Chairman, you just have only 5 years here. The first year is for settling down. The second is for beginning to work. And probably the third is for working. The fourth, you are going to go to the constituencies because you are being harassed in the constituencies. And the fifth is an election year. In fact, part of it. Because an election will take place around January or February. And after you are elected out, voted out, you will be sitting in for a short time before the new parliament is sworn in, with very low morale if you don't return. And I'm speaking this from experience. And so parliament should not be entertaining any business that wastes the time of parliament. Accountability and clarity. Voters can hold the main opposition party accountable for their policies and actions, promoting transparency. The FDC are concerned that the LUMU bill has indeed raised concerns within the FDC regarding potential to disrupt Parliament's current structure. One of the key issues is that the ruling party doesn't elect its government chief whip or prime minister. It doesn't. They are appointed by the president. They are. And nobody questions the appointment by the president. All that is done is the names are brought to the House, the one for prime minister, the one for vice president. I hope it still happens today as it happened back in my time. And then, you know, you chorus in approval. Often it happens. The question is put and their eyes will always have it. Why then is the opposition under this bill being subjected to this kind of torture? The bill's timing and motives is questionable, as it may be driven by personal or party interest rather than a genuine desire for reforms. And we'll be proposing some reforms to you, Mr. Chairman and honorable members. Concerns about the potential for favoritism in the process of bills, noting that the LUMU, we in the FDC know the LUMU bill was fast-tracked while other private members' bills remained stuck. We are further amazed at the speed undertaken in processing this bill by the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, which looks fishy. Whether, you know, this is being, you know, forced down your throats, this is a bill that is being considered at a supersonic speed. And, you know, subject to our suspicion. We suspect you, Mr. Chairman.
Explain.
Did raise concerns within us regarding the potential, its potential to undermine opposition unity and cohesion. This amendment could create divisions within the opposition, favoring smaller parties over larger parties. In order to become the official party in parliament, you have to work hard. You have to fight. You have to, you know, go look for votes. And that is why we respect the NUP. They got 57. We do. Now, you are going to have a small party. I don't intend to undermine anybody. All I am saying, all the parties in the opposition should work so hard so that they may be the official party tomorrow, opposition party. As the FDC, it's essential to carefully consider the potential implications of the LUMU bill on opposition unity and cohesion, ensuring that any reforms prioritize the interests of the Ugandan people. Uganda has a lot of pressing issues which need to be addressed than the LUMU bill, this LUMU bill. And those of you, will bear my testimony, you will bear witness to what is happening in the countryside. I move a lot in this country, beyond just constituencies, and I know there are pressing needs of Ugandans that need to be addressed by the August House. We would like to recommend, if you really would like some reforms to happen in this country, one, that you amend the Administration of Parliaments Act, Cap 272, to provide, if you must, provide for a different way the elections of the law can be done only if the runner-up in the presidential elections holds that position and is therefore admitted to Parliament. That somebody has gone around the country, got 1 million and a half votes, and he or she is left out there without a platform from which to speak, is unreasonable. It is, undesirable in our context. You too should, or Parliament should, expedite the consideration of electoral reforms. And I think that Parliament after Parliament has been unjust to our democracy. From the time I was here, first year, nearly 20 years ago, we began to sing about electoral reforms. To this day, the proposals that we made have never seen the light of day. And you are passing this over to the next Parliament. And yet, there is a need to respect our democracy, to make it more refined. There is a need to respect the ruling of the High Court, it was Supreme Court, that ordered the people in power today to consider certain reforms. This is in the record of the courts of Uganda. Now, if you are not going to listen to courts, whom do you want to listen to? We also would like you to consider, Parliament to consider, an amendment to the law to provide for the resignation of elected members of Parliament, for the resignation as elected members of Parliament of the Speaker and Deputy Speaker upon elections as parliamentary presiding officers. This is something that we've also sung about, and we believe that it would cause the Speaker and Deputy, the presiding officers, to be neutral, arbiters in the House. In conclusion, there is no defect or mischief at all that necessitates the amendment of the Principal Act. We consider Honorable LUMU's proposals as redundant, not curing any defect in the current law. This committee should find by or in itself to recommend to Parliament the discarding of this bill without resorting to further waste of Parliament's time and taxpayers' money. It should be quashed, and really Parliament should not be allowed to spend our money with the taxpayers, talking about something that is not very useful to this country. Mr. Chairman, I thank you very much for allowing me to put this position across, and if you will allow some interventions by my colleagues who have come with me, if you could give them some bit of time to weigh on what I have said. This is a jointly prepared document,
Sure.
but while reading, the discretion is yours, either to allow or not to allow my colleagues to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Precise and to the point. So the officials have only 1 minute to augment a point or two, and then we get the responses from the members.
Thank you, Chairperson. To add on the FDC recommendations, that emphasis should be really put on the consideration of electoral reforms that have come to this House since the 2006 elections. I don't know why we still have the army in that parliament, because we know that the army came as a result of the NRM, which was a movement system representing, everybody needed to represent their interests. But now I want to ask, you want to ask, whom does the army represent in that House? So these are the reforms that really need to be expedited. Secondly, I want to speak on behalf of the FDC women and on behalf of the women in this country, that the affirmative seat has become increasingly a burden to the women, because everybody here, all women, know that this is a very, very big constituency compared to their male colleagues. And at this time, there has been also a call to reduce the members of parliament. And there have been submissions that every constituency should be represented, every actual district should be represented by one man and one woman, just to have that fairness, so that one gender does not carry the burden in the name of affirmative action. If not, can we consider the PR system where the country elects parties, so that then the parties can send their members they are considered members to parliament. This I emphasize because I know the burden that women carry as they seek those parliamentary seats. Thank you, Chairperson.
Now, the members want to respond to issues pertaining electoral reforms, but just take it as your information.
I'll just make an appeal to honorable colleagues that while processing this bill, it should not be perceived as a punishment to a particular political party that is now holding the leadership of the opposition in parliament, because potentially all political parties in this country, including the NRM, can hold this position. And therefore, if you are processing this bill, you should process it with all the objectivity it deserves. The main reason why we have an alternative government in parliament is to enhance the spirit of checks and balances. And therefore, if that spirit is abused, then democracy loses its meaning. I have seen some practices, even outside the law, where the ruling party has tried to manipulate and even designate members of the opposition to some committees. I don't know if this is one way of trying to sanitize that bad practice so that they can also have that bad influence. And I see that we are moving in a wrong direction. The case in point is the East African Legislative Assembly elections. Some opposition political parties have been technically hedged out of that process because a list is shared at State House during the NRM caucus to determine who should represent the country in Yala. And I see this vice coming also now through this bill, impliedly. So we should...
Chair, to set the record straight, that's not accurate information.
It is accurate. I've been a member of parliament here. I've seen this happening.
I participated in the previous elections, and I just wanted us to
I have participated in the election. So I'm speaking from an informed point of view. I have seen this.
Exactly. What information is in contention exactly?
I don't know what is contesting.
Let us have the...
And
thank you, Chair. African Legislative Assembly representatives in totality is not shared in the NRM caucus. What is shared in the NRM caucus are the NRM representatives in the East African Legislative Assembly. And it is pertinent that we set that record straight.
And then the voting takes place in the House.
The directive, I know where the directive comes from. Let us not bury our heads in the sand. I have been here before, and I know what I'm speaking about. Finally, I would like to make an appeal. It's very unfortunate that this bill was proposed from our very own, one member from the DP, and seconded by a member from the current leading opposition political party, LUMU. This is a very big shame. And I would, if possible, I would appeal to our colleagues, the leadership of those two political parties, to bring to book these members if they are not willing to shoot down their shameful bill to this country, because it is not remedying anything but opening another window of opportunity for the ruling party to muzzle the opposition politics in this country. I beg to move.
But calling for putting the members to order is to stifle the African to bring up what they think, right or wrong, and then for us we decide. Yeah. There are enough checks and balances to filter the wrong actions of members, individual members, but to stifle them also is not right. They should be allowed to move in whatever direction, and then we sieve. And that's why we are here. Thank you so much. So that is, you have an issue?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and members of Parliament, for giving us this opportunity. Honorable Dealers, we have the Office of the Speaker, the Office of the Leader of Government Business in the House, and the Office of the Leader of Opposition. When you look at the Public Service Standing Orders, the two offices, that is the Office of the Speaker and Prime Minister, when they are retiring, their emoluments and benefits are clearly laid out down. But when we go to the Office of the Leader of Opposition, once he's retiring, he goes with nothing. So in my own view, it is my considered opinion that maybe this committee should also look into that. That also the Office of the Leader of Opposition, which is a pinnacle within the opposition rank, be given that due consideration. I beg to submit. Thank you.
What's your comment on the service award that was awarded to?
No, that's a different case. Yeah, it's a different case.
All right, thank you. So we have heard from the FDC. Have you come to join the FDC? Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My party president, you are welcome to the Parliament of Uganda, and I am happy to be with you. When you are here with me, I feel very, very good. Commissioner, keep quiet. When you are in your caucus, that is where you will be talking. So, my name is Ekudo Tom Julius. I am a member of Parliament, Gweri County, in Soroti. And he's my president.
Thank you. So I now open the floor to members. Oh, before opening the floor, just for clarify on the issue of the alleged speed at which the bill is moving in the committee. When a bill is referred to a committee like this one, we are guided by many rules, one of which is Rule 129, and the Rule 129 sub-rule 2 states that the committee shall examine the bill in detail and make all such inquiries in relation to it as the committee considers expedient or necessary to report to the House within 45 days from the date the bill is referred to the committee. Now, we had so many bills referred to the committee at the same time, and we have a requirement to process them within 45 days. So as a chairman, I just, it is within my discretion to decide which bill comes in first and then which one comes in last. So we have so many bills. We have this one, we have a constitutional amendment bill, we have two other bills. Then recently we had a marriage bill referred to this committee, and all of them within 45 days. So I decided that since this one was small, only 4 clauses, I decided that we start with it before we go into the bigger ones. That was the only consideration, nothing else. And but your concerns have been taken note of. Can I now invite the members to respond?
And I remember
the Honorable Solomon, just a minute before you proceed. He said he was born in a UPC family. That is when UPC was here. Now you joined JEMA. I'm now hearing that FDC is now in NRM. He's a man of all seasons.
Honorable Chair, the UPC, that is my father, but I was in FDC Chair with the Sentinel. Remember, I was one of the activists. Why did you abandon that? What was the experience? Was it something that was bad? Why did you abandon election of the leader of opposition? Because I think if we are moving towards a democracy, then elections are very key. Why did you abandon the issue of electing the law? Then, lastly, Chair, my issue is on the concern the president was suspecting the whole committee and saying that the bill is very fast. I thank you, Chair, that you have responded to that. But I also wanted to add my voice that there cannot be anything fishy in the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, because this is a committee that handles matters of the law in Parliament, and we are as objective as possible. Chair, I wanted to pose those 3 questions to my former president. And also, lastly, which FDC is this one? Because I've been told there are two. Is this the one of Katonga or the one? I just wanted to ask.
What's the point of order?
Raising is of FDC. How many FDCs are registered in Uganda? Is in order.
He's not informed. Let him seek information.
Yeah, okay.
He will get the information. He's seeking clarification.
I want to thank the party president of FDC and his delegation for the well-researched paper, which is quite clear to me. My first question is, the Honorable LUMU purported to be presenting this bill to help the opposition. And the FDC and many other political parties who are in the opposition are coming here, and so far, all are disagreeing with him. Did he make an attempt, before even seeking leave of Parliament, to consult the FDC? Secondly, when he was granted leave now to prepare the bill before publication, did he seek input from the FDC as a member of the opposition? And then, if he did, would it surprise you now that even when it was clear that the members of the opposition in Uganda, as currently constituted, are against this bill, he still goes ahead to push for it? The second question is, in my understanding, this whole fight is about the lucrative benefits attached to the current leadership of the opposition in parliament, which is about resources. In my thinking, and I wanted to get your opinion, if parliament decides that the party with the leading majority members appoints or designates the law and also facilitates the law to carry that duty without the involvement of the parliament and our current setup in parliamentary commission, where they first study the demeanor of the leader of the opposition and then decide on which resources to allocate to that office. If you are not loyal, or you are perceived to be challenging the status quo, then a spanner is brought to turn the flow of fuel, so that the engine combustion is a bit problematic. So would it please you, in the reforms and in the suggestion, that since political parties already receive financing through the iPod mechanism, then the party designating the leader of the opposition also now facilitates it, so that parliament is not sucked into this kind of conflict between loyalty of the law to the powers that are here. I think those are...
Thank you very much, Chair, the President of FDC, Honorable Amuriat, for the wonderful presentation. You see, as a NUP, we are new in the opposition, but FDC has been here for years with five leaders of opposition brought by them. So I think your information is of a vital use to this committee. I'll take myself to page 4, which says that the LUMU bill has sparked concern that the ruling NRM party could exploit it to impeach a strong opposition leader and the rest. And that can be shown through Honorable Sirwanye's presentation. No, I'm still going on. Hey, I'm still going on. That's actually shown through my brother Honorable Sirwanye's presentation. So I want to ask you, I will explain later. I want to ask the President of FDC, because this information is very vital and crucial for this committee. Do you have any other information you feel I've left out that you haven't put here that you would like to bring out on this bill? Thank you very much.
Chair, I appreciate the effort and the content delivered by Honorable Patrick Amuriat, the FDC party president. You would feel the emotion and passion in what the presentation seeks to bring out. But the Honorable Centenary has made a very pertinent issue where the bill is presented by Honorable LUMU, a member of the Democratic Party, seconded by Honorable Kakembo, a member of the National Unity Platform. And there seems to be a democratic approach to sucking NRM into the mix of the bill. Could this be that there is suffocation within the opposition parties in different fora, that they feel internally they should even run away and seek refuge with NRM? I find it defeatism and beating objectivity if from the onset we interrogate the bill from a perspective that there is external influence, and yet these are, in my opinion, reputable members of parliament representing their constituencies, some not even first time or second timers. So I beg your indulgence in the clarification of this matter. Thank you.
Mr. President, we appeared before this committee and disagreed with LUMU's position. the Law Development Center. The Alliance for National Transformation appeared before this committee this morning and disagreed with LUMU's position. Uganda People's Congress, as before you came in, appeared before this committee and disagreed with the LUMU's position. Now the FDC is here and asking that the status quo is maintained. Mr. Party President, in your wisdom, in whose interest do you think LUMU is working? Thank you very much.
By colleagues and Mr. President of FDC, we thank you so much, and I think with that advantage we have enjoyed, because you team other experienced leaders and with regards to legislation. So I just wish Chair and colleagues to take our emphasis on the recommendation of the FDC party, as has been highlighted and listed here. So I think it will give us even a position to see how we can chase other issues related to the welfare of members of parliament who will come after us. I think that's what I wish to express, Chair. Thank you.
Nothing useful to add. Okay, Mr. President, you now have the floor to respond.
And compliments that have been raised. The question about the honorable member being persuaded, and I think it is my friend Solomon, my former member, who decided to seek greener pastures in NRM. It is true that
after sweeping the road from Entebbe to Kampala,
it's true that we are not homogeneous as parties in the opposition. By our very missions, what we stand for, our ideology, the FDC center-right ideology. I don't know what ideology NUP, for example, espouses. And so we really can't be the same. You also got to recognize the fact that we compete, place a candidate against a JEMA candidate, against a NUP candidate, and other political organizations. So we can't be the same. And therefore, the reason why you have got to have a head somewhere in Parliament, try to bring those interests together. And I'm sure that you know that the leader of opposition in the House does not operate by himself. The leader of opposition has got structures. He has a team, or she has a team to work with. There are meetings that they hold, meetings of the opposition caucus, and I know that they do hold them, And by the way, the different whips also input in certain things that happen in that office. The whips come back to the parties to report. By the way, our whip always presents to the working committee, which is top management, a report of what transpires in Parliament. And so the role of the leader of opposition is to create that homogeneity so that these members move as a unit. So it's not only about the election and it stops there. You seem to suggest that something would change if the election was done by all the parties, opposition parties in Parliament. And we have discounted that in our report with very, very strong reasons. So our feeling is that we have a lot to benefit as the opposition with the law in its present form than to benefit after the law is amended. On the election of Ogenga Latigo, remember that Ogenga Latigo was the first post-referendum leader of the opposition. And as the FDC, we found ourselves as the official political party in the opposition. And so we tried out a direct election. The Electoral College being the National Executive Committee of the party. What arose from that election was disharmony within the party. There was underlying problems associated with that election. There was acrimony, there was anger, and especially I would even talk about the position of a commissioner that was also subjected to an election. And this affected us on the ground. 2 members of parliament coming from one district fighting, locking horns. One claiming the other had taken his position. So that was not a pleasant experience for us. And so management in its wisdom said, I think the next time we will just have a small team. Don't cause these people to go to an election campaign, spend money during the campaigns, you see, because it backfired on us. In fact, it caused us trouble in the election of 2011. And we don't want to repeat that. And I would advise our colleagues in the opposition, those who might be get to the position of the official position, not to tow that path. So what happens today? Or what happened with the case of the Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi and those who came after him? There was consensus building within the party. While looking at seniority, and also guided by our constitution where the Electoral Commission vets, which is a form of, a precursor to an election. And once the leaders are vetted, and there is only one that is outstanding, then that one is deemed to have been elected. It's a form of election. Make no mistake about that. It is a form of an election. And so we feel comfortable that we put in place the right people using the right procedure, even if a vote was not cast. On suspecting the whole committee, I think I have qualified that, Sir Chairman, and this is not to disrespect you, sir, that this would look like a matter of life and death, the way it is being handled. That if this bill is not passed, the roof will collapse on this country. And I don't think that is true. And I want to answer this together with a concern about whether LUMU actually came to us. We are the consumers of this law. We are the players. We're in the theater of politics. We are the biggest stakeholders. It's not somebody we know who is directly affected by this. And so we've got to have a say. And this is why we think you must listen to us. The Honorable LUMU attempted to come to us after he drafted his bill. And he ostensibly to seek information from us. And we said, no, at the conception of this bill, we should have been part of this. We should have been part of the conversation. It never happened. And so the FDC felt like LUMU wanted to use us, and yet, there are clever people in the FDC who knew they would come here to the committee and present their views. It wasn't our duty to help LUMU, Honorable LUMU, to write his bill up. It wasn't. We were not about to be part or conscripted into doing this dirty work by a honorable member of parliament who is serving selfish interests. on whom we are, which FDC we are. I know that is a tongue in the cheek by my friend Commissioner Serwanyi. But just to clear the air to you, honorable members, we are the FDC. We have got an elected leadership that was elected on the 6th of October last year in a national delegates conference that was properly convened. We have control over all the facets of the political organization that I lead. I am president, by the way. I didn't introduce myself as such. Properly elected. And I am glad that the clerk, while communicating to us, wrote to the Secretary General of the FDC, not to a faction of the FDC. And I want to warn you, the media. Let me also take this opportunity to caution you to be responsible in your reporting. There is no faction in the FDC called Katonga. The official seal of the party is held in Najanankumbi on plot 1164 Entebbe Road. All communications out of FDC are made by the Right Honorable Nathan Nandala Mafabi James, the Secretary General of the FDC. The signature of Nandala and that of Ekanya are recognized in all the banks where we hold accounts. So our friends sitting in Katonga are imposters. I want to repeat that. I do understand that they have formed a new party called the PFF, and we can only wish them well. We are firmly in charge of the FDC and would be happy that you continue communicating to us as such. We also sponsor candidates under our seal and the signature of the Secretary General. I have never seen anybody from that group that is disenchanted doing that. And these are normal political differences that all of us experience. The good thing about the FDC, we have mastered the art of stabilizing our party when we have turmoil within the party. The Honorable Du, you are right to say that, and forgive me for referring to you as Honorable. Owechitiibwa. Well, I think he really purported. The Honorable LUMU does not represent the FDC that I speak for. His views were not, that are contained in the bill, were not solicited from the FDC. And so, you know, he didn't come before he conceived this idea, and he attempted to come after drafting his bill. And as I said, I think he was on full flight. Nothing would have stopped him because he serves other interests and other interests of the FDC. And I am glad that the Honorable Oboi has weighed on this when he related to us what happened before we came to this committee. The players in this theater, in this playing ground, the ones that he purportedly, you know, represents, or he purports to represent, do not know him. We don't recognize him. He doesn't speak for us. And that is why I thought the committee needs to listen to us very carefully on this. Fight about lucrative positions held by the opposition in the House I think this should not be there. The creation of the position of leader of opposition is contained in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. And any resources that go to that office should not be seen as a favor. Nobody should use carrot and stick against the holder of that position. What precisely this bill now wants to introduce to our democracy. That you speak nicely with the power that be, and then okay, you can have the trips, you can have the money to spend, your fuel card is guaranteed, you can get employment for your relatives in the house, in the parliamentary commission. Everything is being dangled there.
Clarification, parliamentary commission, what?
No, I said, yeah, I think you need to be awake, Honorable Member of Parliament, as we speak. This position is not a favor. It's a creature of the Constitution. And nobody should indulge in arm twisting the holder of that position. It is an office, it's an institution that was given birth by the Constitution, the amended Constitution that we amended in 2005. So how I wish that this independence is maintained, and the Honorable Duke brings a very, very important point, that this office should not be under the direction of any office in Parliament. Warid talked about the pillars within this Parliament, and he articulated very well. So what we are crying for is the independence of this office. That the person holding the position should not be looking over his or her shoulder.
Correct.
To see who is coming after him.
The question is, wouldn't it even make it more independent if we tagged the facilities to that office to the party with the largest strength?
Well, I think that
for that party.
The subvention that we get from government is on account of our numbers in Parliament. That is all. And I want to just correct something a little bit here. That has been in the public, again, propagated by our friends in the media, that we receive money from iPod. There is no iPod money. It's not there. Very misleading. I don't know, our friends do not want to carry out their research. The money that is received by political parties, all political parties, is based on numerical strength in the House. There is a quota that is given per member of Parliament. And that's why we all fight to get more members of Parliament into the House. So, I don't think it is right for this money to be given to the party in the opposition. Accounting for it might be difficult. And I speak out of experience. There are a lot of pressures that political organizations experience. You know, you have to really have a thick skin as a leader of a political party like the FDC to control people's desires. And so it's better that this financing remains within the Parliamentary Commission. But again, you commissioners, Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Selwan, should not arm twist the leader of opposition.
Capacity.
Well, if they suffocate them financially, how will the office run? They are the ones who allocate, money, the budget, the commission. I don't know whether it has changed since I left still the same, you know, and you know, it's just one person in the commission. He can be overpowered in the commission.
Mr. President, maybe the information I wanted to give you that still their numerical strength comes in. So you have
Numerical strength, you have got to be reasonable. When I was here, there was something called mob justice.
Mr. President, we have 80 minutes to conclude.
Yes, I will speak within 8 minutes. That mob justice where, you know, the constitutional amendment to remove term limits was forced on us. I am glad I'm among the 52 who stood up and said no. Some of our friends who voted yes regret to this day. Yes, by the way, it is possible that a strong lob can be impeached, again using mob justice. And yet, a strong leader of opposition is an advantage to the ruling party. I think you should view it that way. That one who punches holes in your policies, who speaks and makes proposals that you could adopt, maybe with modification, is helpful. If you want a weak parliament, then have a weak leader of opposition. If you desire a compliant leader of opposition, then pass this law, because you will have what you want. And then you'll go and answer, after 5 years, to the population that elected you. So it is true, a strong leader of opposition can be removed very easily. People will plot at night, you know, they will be called to different meetings, and from those meetings, the plot will be executed. So and so you will move the motion. The other one will second the motion. You know, the other one will even close debate. The other one will propose that a question be put. And in record time,
Mr. President, why are you speaking like you know what Solomon?
And in record time, the loop will be out. Please, this is not what we want for our country. We are political players today. Tomorrow we'll be out of this place. We found people here. We left them. After my 3 terms, it was time to go. The voters said go. They get tired of you. And you can be sure there will be people after you. And those after those. So long as we continue to have parliamentary democracy in this country. The question to Honorable Centenary will be answered by him. I think that I have exhausted the questions that were put to me, but I want to appeal to the committee. Find it within your hearts to save this nation, Uganda. I rarely come here, but when I come here, I would like to really appeal to you. You have the country on your heads. You chose to bear that burden. Please be meticulous in whatever you do. And those are my final remarks, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to this committee. And if you please, I will ask my colleagues to make interventions.
To whether the 2 members from our sister parties were right or wrong, I think history will judge them. I want to believe if they were on the right side of history, and if they really exercised the decorum, they would have consulted their mother parties that sponsored them to this house before coming up with those ridiculous ideas of proposing to amend the bill on their own account. That showed the highest level of disrespect to their sponsors in the first place. So if they could disrespect their mother parties, how do you expect them to even come and consult us, where they don't even belong, the other political parties? But if, and I want to believe that this committee did so, if you invited NUP, I might be quite sure that they would disagree with these proposals. I'm not sure about DP, but maybe they will also disagree with the bill, because at least I'm sure about NUP. So, and it will be our prayer that this bill is shot down. About the funding to the office of the leader of opposition, it's a directorate, by the way, in the structure of this parliament. I used to be a shadow minister for tourism, and I remember we would provide alternative policy statements that are prepared by a team from the office of the leader of opposition. So the money that goes to that directorate does not go to the leader of opposition, but facilitates the process for that office to run effectively and efficiently. You cannot have policy analysts and researchers volunteering in the office of the leader of opposition, and yet they are they're making a big contribution to the policies of this country. If the office of the government chief whip is facilitated and the office of the leader of government business is facilitated, why then shouldn't the office of the leader of opposition be facilitated? So in the spirit of equity, I think it's a process facilitation, not a favor that is done to the office of the leader of opposition. I will appeal to you, my brothers and sisters, honorable colleagues, that yes, we must maintain objectivity while processing this bill. If you are in the ruling party and you think you're punishing us in the opposition, I want to remind you that KANU was once a ruling party in Kenya, here in our neighboring country, and that the same can happen to you. May God bless you.
Member of the The bill was clearly brought by opposition MPs.
Thank you, Chair. I think it is the Honorable Wechitiwa who asked that in whose interest is this bill. It was...
Wechitiwa who?
Oh.
Wechitiwa do.
I think the bill is in the interest of the person or the persons who want to disorganize the country, the person or the persons who are not interested in the cohesion of institutions. Why? Because my party president has clearly shared what happened when the FDC had a method of going into elections for the leader of opposition. It was very disruptive, and this is exactly what this bill is intended to do. You can imagine three names from the same party coming to parliament to campaign against each other. It's going to be really, really disruptive. People are going to demean each other. People are going to throw insults in the public. You can imagine members of one family going out to wash their dirty linen in the public. This bill here is exactly what it is intended. So I think I want to say that it is in the interest, this bill here is not in the interest of FDC, neither is it in the interest of the opposition that is purporting that there are small parties that need to be remain represented, and so no. it is going to cause a lot of disruption within the main opposition party. And I think there is somebody interested. There is somebody behind this. Just finally, yes, Honorable Serwan, the commissioner, is saying you can imagine if it is NRM that had fronted this bill. Yes, that is not very, very new. There is an allusion that the axe that destroys the forest is also made from the wood. So it's not something really new. A foreign hand can use one of your own to destroy you. That's not very, very different. But I think I want to appeal, especially for me, I want to appeal to the members of the ruling government, because the peace of this country is within your hands. It is up to you to either unite this country for prosperity or destroy it by bringing such useless bills. Thank you, Chairman.
Not to... Yes, Honorable Member.
Yeah, as a member of FDC, like I had introduced myself, I would also like to add my appeal to the committee, who are my colleagues, that yes, let's not hurry for some things. We may hurry for something and then later we shall regret. Think about the issue of term limits. It was put in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, but what happened again? When somebody realizes that there was a problem here, then you will now think of changing the Constitution once more. We should not take chances of some maybe unguided things. Then we say the eye takes it because you have the numbers. Yes, you have the numbers, but let us consider other things. Let me talk about 2-3 women in a home who are competing for the husband. Now the husband is quarreling to this one. You are hurrying to pick a stick. It will again turn to you also tomorrow. Who knows whether NRM is going to be in leadership all the time? You are going to be also in opposition, and I will be in the ruling government. What will happen, you people? Thank you.
Honorable members, thank you. Our
Chairman and members, I would like to extend our thanks to you for the audience that you have given to us in inviting us here. We believe we have put on record our feelings about this bill. The burden now is on you. It would have been our wish that the committee sees no reason to have this amendment go through. I would be extremely surprised. I'm not trying to coerce you. You are not coercible. I would be extremely surprised if you saw any merit in this bill. Let debate in the second reading absolve you. And if there is another way this needs to come, let it be maybe through a private member's bill. Private members, what would they call this? A dissenting voice from the committee. A minority report. Members' minority report. And not, the committee, putting a rope around the necks of Ugandans. Again, thank you. For us, this day is going to be memorable because we feel you have given us all the time that we needed to interact with you. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Now, and to FDC for the delay you had and for your time you have put into the analysis that you have given. Just for by way of assurance, your ideas are definitely going to be incorporated in our final report, and they will be very helpful in coming up with the final decision we take as a committee. And with those few remarks, I wish to now discharge you and request the members to stay behind for a minute. Anna Adeke, kindly see off the president and the team.